Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about the seasons of life that challenge us the most, the endings, the pain, the healing, and the ultimate release. These are not just moments we endure, they are divine opportunities for growth and transformation. Endings are a natural and inevitable part of life. They can come in many forms of relationship that no longer serves its purpose, a job that has reached its conclusion, or even a chapter of personal growth that has run its course. While endings often bring discomfort and uncertainty, they are not failures. Instead, they are stepping stones to something greater. Sometimes we hold on too tightly to what is familiar because it feels safe, even when it no longer aligns with our destiny. It's in these moments that we must remember endings are not the end of us, they are the beginning of what's next. When a door closes, not a sign of rejection, but redirection. There are seasons in life when things have to come to an end so that we can step into the next phase of our journey. Yet as human beings, we tend to resist change. We cling to what we know, fearing the unknown. But holding on to something that is meant to end only delays the blessing that's waiting on the other side. Imagine if a tree refused to shed its leaves in the fall, desperately clinging to them even as they withered and died. The tree would not have room for new growth in the spring. In the same way, we must let go of what is no longer meant for us so that we can make room for the growth and blessings ahead. Endings can feel like failures because we often associate them with loss. We may think if this relationship ended, I must not have been good enough. Or if this job didn't work out, I must have done something wrong. But the truth is, not everything is meant to last forever. Some things are only meant to be in our lives for a season, to teach us something, to prepare us, or to move us to the next level. What looks like failure is often divine timing in disguise. God knows the plans He has for us, and those plans are always for our good. Sometimes He has to close a door to protect us or to lead us to a better one. In the moment, it's hard to see how an ending can be a foundation for something new. The pain and uncertainty cloud our vision, making it difficult to imagine a brighter future. But hindsight often reveals the truth. Think back to a time when something ended in your life, a friendship, a job, a dream you once held dear. At the time, it may have felt like the worst thing that could happen. But now, you can see how that ending created space for something better. Maybe it allowed you to discover a deeper sense of self, meet new people who enriched your life, or step into an opportunity you never imagined possible. Every ending carries the seeds of a new beginning. We just have to trust the process. Endings are also an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. When something ends, it forces us to pause and evaluate where we are and where we want to go. It gives us a chance to ask important questions. What did I learn from this experience? What can I do differently moving forward? How can I grow from this? These moments of reflection are crucial because they help us align with our true purpose. Without endings, we might continue on autopilot, settling for less than we deserve or less than we are capable of achieving. Endings wake us up and remind us to live intentionally. It's important to acknowledge that endings are rarely easy. They come with emotions, grief, sadness, fear, and sometimes even anger. It's okay to feel those things. In fact, it's necessary to process them fully so that we can move forward without carrying unnecessary baggage. But as we process those emotions, we must also hold on to the truth that endings are not the end of the story. They are a chapter, not the whole book. And just because one chapter closes doesn't mean the story is over. The best chapters are often still ahead. When we shift our perspective and see endings as opportunities rather than failures, we open ourselves up to the possibilities that lie ahead. We become more resilient, more adaptable, and more hopeful. Instead of fearing change, we can embrace it with confidence, knowing that every ending has a purpose. It's not always easy to trust this in the moment, but faith reminds us that we are never walking through endings alone. There is a greater plan at work, even when we can't see it. Pain is an experience that every one of us encounters in life. It comes in different forms, physical, emotional, or even spiritual, and often catches us off guard, leaving us questioning its purpose. It's natural to want to avoid pain, to run from it, to numb it, or to wish it away. But pain is not something to be feared or ignored. It's a process that shapes us, refines us, and ultimately leads us to our purpose. It is not a permanent state, even though it may feel endless in the moment. Pain has a way of stretching us, revealing strengths we didn't know we had, and opening doors to growth we never thought possible. When we're in the midst of pain, it's hard to see anything beyond it. The weight of it feels all-consuming, and the temptation is to believe it will always be this way. But pain is not here to stay, it is here to pass. Just as the storm eventually gives way to clear skies, pain too is temporary. It serves its purpose, and then it moves on. The challenge is not avoiding pain, but in how we choose to walk through it. If we resist it, it can linger, creating bitterness and resentment. But if we embrace it as part of our journey, we allow it to teach us, to transform us, and to prepare us for what's ahead. Pain has a way of bringing clarity. It strips away the distractions and forces us to focus on what truly matters. In moments of pain, we often discover our inner strength. We realize that we are capable of enduring more than we thought possible. Pain pushes us to dig deep, to tap into reserves of courage and resilience that we may not have known were there. It reminds us that we are not as fragile as we sometimes believe. Instead, we are resilient, capable of weathering life's storms and emerging stronger on the other side. It's important to recognize that pain is not without purpose. While it may seem random or unfair, pain often comes to teach us lessons we wouldn't learn any other way. It humbles us, reminding us of our humanity and our dependence on something greater than ourselves. It teaches us compassion as we come to understand the struggles of others more deeply through our own experiences. Pain also has a way of revealing our priorities, showing us what and who truly matter in our lives. It clears away the superficial and leaves behind what is real and lasting. Pain can also be a catalyst for change. Sometimes we become so comfortable in our routines, in our relationships, or in our habits that we ignore the signs that it's time for something new. Pain has a way of disrupting that comfort, forcing us to confront what we've been avoiding. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and into the unknown where growth happens. While the process may be uncomfortable, it often leads us to a place we never imagined, a place of greater fulfillment, purpose, and joy. It's essential to allow yourself to feel pain rather than suppress it. Too often we try to avoid pain by distracting ourselves or pretending it doesn't exist. But suppressing pain only prolongs its presence in our lives. By acknowledging it, naming it, and giving ourselves permission to feel it fully, we begin the process of healing. Pain is like a wound that needs to be tended to. If we ignore it, it festers. But if we address it, it begins to heal. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with the courage to face the pain head on. As we walk through pain, we must also remind ourselves that it is not a reflection of our worth. Pain doesn't mean we failed or that we're worthy of love and happiness. It's simply a part of the human experience, a reminder that we are alive and growing. In fact, some of the most meaningful growth comes from the most painful experiences. The trials we endure often become the foundation for the triumphs we celebrate. They shape our character, deepen our faith, and prepare us for the greater things that lie ahead. Pain is not the end of the story. It's a chapter in the journey. While it may feel overwhelming in the moment, it is also an opportunity to rise, to learn, and to become the person you were created to be. Pain has a way of refining us like gold in the fire. It burns away the impurities and leaves behind something stronger, something purer, something more beautiful than before. Through pain, we discover not only our own strength, but also the depth of love, grace, and healing that is available to us. Healing is a journey, not a destination. It's a process that requires time, patience, and understanding. In a world that often glorifies speed and instant results, healing stands in quiet defiance of the rush. It reminds us that some things cannot be hurried, that true restoration happens in its own time. When we try to force healing or demand it to happen on our terms, we often find ourselves frustrated and disheartened. But healing, much like growth, unfolds in its own season. It asks us to surrender to the process, to trust that even when we cannot see progress, something beautiful is happening beneath the surface. In the aftermath of pain, it's natural to want to feel better as quickly as possible. We want to move on to get back to normal, to regain a sense of stability. But healing doesn't adhere to a timeline. It doesn't follow a linear path. Some days we may feel strong and hopeful, while others may bring setbacks and struggles. This is not a sign of failure, but a reflection of the complexity of the healing process. It ebbs and flows much like the waves of the ocean. Each wave may feel different, but collectively, they move us forward. One of the greatest challenges of healing is learning to give ourselves grace. When we're in pain, it's easy to be hard on ourselves. We may wonder why we're not healing faster, why we still feel the way we do, or why we can't seem to let go of the hurt. But healing requires compassion both for ourselves and for the process. It's about recognizing that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay to take things one day at a time, and that there is no right way to heal. Each person's journey is unique, and comparing our progress to others only adds unnecessary pressure. Healing happens at its own pace, and that pace is perfectly designed for each individual. Another aspect of healing is acknowledging the depth of what needs to be healed. Sometimes the pain we carry runs deeper than we realize. It may stem wounds, unspoken words, or unmet expectations. Healing invites us to go inward, to explore the layers of our hurt, and to confront the truths we may have avoided. This process can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also incredibly liberating. When we allow ourselves to feel and process our emotions fully, we create space for true healing to occur. It's not about burying the pain or pretending it doesn't exist, but about facing it with courage and honesty. Healing also teaches us the value of patience. In a society that values quick fixes and instant gratification, patience can feel like a foreign concept. But healing reminds us that some of the most meaningful transformations take time. Just as a seed must spend time in the dark soil before it can grow into a thriving plant, we too must endure seasons of waiting as we heal. These seasons are not wasted. They are periods of growth and preparation, even if the changes are not immediately visible. Patience allows us to embrace the process without judgment, trusting that each moment, each step is bringing us closer to wholeness. Support is another crucial element of healing. While the journey is deeply personal, it is not one that we are meant to walk alone. Reaching out for help, whether from loved ones, professionals, or a community, is not a sign of weakness, but a strength. It takes courage to admit when we need support, to lean on others when we feel unsteady. Healing often requires us to let go of the idea that we must carry our burdens alone. Instead, it invites us to share our struggles, to allow others to hold us up when we feel weak, and to find comfort in the connections that remind us we are not alone. As we heal, we also begin to notice the small victories. They may be subtle, at first a moment of laughter, a sense of peace, a glimmer of hope. These moments are signs that healing is taking place, even if it doesn't always feel that way. It's important to celebrate these milestones, no matter how small they may seem. They are reminders that progress is being made, that the weight we once carried is slowly lifting. Healing is not about erasing the past, but about finding a way to move forward with grace and strength. Healing changes us in profound ways. It shapes our perspective, deepens our empathy, and strengthens our resilience. It teaches us to value the process over the outcome, to embrace the journey even when it's difficult, and to find beauty in the growth that comes from struggle. Through healing, we discover not only our capacity to endure, but also our capacity to thrive. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful yet misunderstood acts we can undertake. It is often thought of as something we do for others, a way to absolve them of their wrongs or to restore a fractured relationship. While forgiveness can benefit others, its true power lies in what it does for the one who forgives. Forgiveness is not about excusing someone's actions or pretending that the hurt they caused did not matter. It is about freeing ourselves from the weight of anger, resentment, and bitterness that keeps us tethered to the pain of the past. When someone has hurt us deeply, it's natural to hold on to the pain. We replay the events in our minds, analyze their words and actions, and relive the feelings of betrayal or disappointment. This is a normal part of processing hurt, but over time it can become a prison. Resentment builds, and we begin to carry the burden of that pain with us wherever we go. It seeps into our thoughts, our relationships, and even our physical well-being. Holding on to anger and bitterness doesn't punish the person who hurt us, it punishes us. It's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a journey. It begins with a decision, a choice to release the hold that the hurt has on our lives. This doesn't mean the feelings of pain or anger immediately disappear. In fact, they may resurface repeatedly, especially when reminded of the hurtful experience. Forgiveness requires commitment. It's the practice of choosing day by day to let go of the resentment and to focus on healing. Each time we make that choice, we take another step toward freedom. One of the most challenging aspects of forgiveness is understanding that it doesn't depend on the other person's actions or attitude. They may never apologize, acknowledge the hurt they caused, or change their behavior. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about us. It's a personal decision to reclaim our peace and our power. When we tie forgiveness to someone else's actions, we give them control over our healing. But when we choose to forgive regardless of their response, we take that power back. Forgiveness also doesn't mean forgetting or condoning what happened. It doesn't mean we have to continue a relationship with the person who hurt us or expose ourselves to further harm. Forgiveness is about setting boundaries, protecting ourselves, and recognizing our worth. It's about saying, what you did hurt me, but I won't let it define me or control my life any longer. It's an act of self-respect, a declaration that we are more than the pain we've experienced. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We hold on to guilt, regret, and shame for the mistakes we've made, replaying them in our minds and believing that we are unworthy of love or redemption. But just as we extend grace to others, we must learn to extend it to ourselves. We are all human, and to be human is to be imperfect. Mistakes are a part of life, and they are often the greatest teachers. Self-forgiveness is not about ignoring the consequences of our actions, but about acknowledging them, learning from them, and choosing to move forward with compassion and understanding. Forgiveness doesn't mean the pain goes away overnight. It's a process that takes time, and it's okay to feel the hurt even as we work toward letting it go. What's important is the willingness to begin the journey, to take that first step toward freedom. Each act of forgiveness, no matter how small, creates space in our hearts for healing, peace, and joy. It's a reminder that we are not defined by the pain we've endured, but by the strength we've shown in overcoming it. Forgiveness can also transform our perspective. When we let go of resentment, we begin to see things more clearly. We may come to understand the other person's actions in a new light, recognizing that their behavior was a reflection of their own pain or brokenness. This doesn't excuse what they did, but it can help us release the need for revenge or retribution. It shifts our focus from the past to the present, from what we cannot change to what we can. Forgiveness allows us to reclaim our energy and direct it toward growth and renewal. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It's a way to unburden our hearts, to release the chains that keep us tied to the past, and to step into a future unencumbered by anger and pain. It's an act of courage, a declaration that we refuse to let hurt define us or hold us back. Through forgiveness, we find freedom, not because the hurt disappears, but because we choose to rise above it. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do in life, yet it is one of the most liberating. It's natural to want to hold on to what we know, to cling to the familiar, and to try to control outcomes. We often feel that if we let go of something or someone, we are losing a part of ourselves. But letting go isn't about losing, it's about making space. It's about trusting that what is ahead is far greater than anything we leave behind. It's about releasing the tight grip we have on the things we can't control and surrendering to a higher plan that is always working for our good. When we hold on to something too tightly, it can weigh us down. Whether it's a relationship, a dream, a past mistake, or a version of ourselves we no longer recognize, clinging to what no longer serves us only creates resistance. It's like trying to swim while holding on to a heavy rock that keeps us from moving forward and exhausts our energy. Letting go doesn't mean we didn't care or that what we're releasing wasn't valuable. It means we are choosing to free ourselves from the burden of carrying what isn't meant to stay. The act of letting go is deeply tied to trust. It requires us to believe that even though we can't see the full picture, there is a greater plan unfolding. It's about trusting that every ending is a new beginning and that the things meant for us will find their way to us in the right time and in the right way. Letting go is not giving up, it's giving over. It's saying, I don't have to have all the answers, and I don't need to control everything. I can let go and trust that what's ahead is aligned with my purpose. One of the reasons letting go is so difficult is because we fear the unknown. We wonder what will happen if we release what we've been holding on to. Will we regret it? Will something better truly come? Will we feel empty without it? These are natural fears, but they often stem from a place of scarcity of belief that what we have right now is the best we'll ever have. But life is abundant, and when we let go, we create space for something new. Just as a garden needs to be cleared of weeds to make room for fresh blooms, our lives need space to grow and evolve. Letting go is also about releasing control. As much as we may want to, we can't control everything in our lives. We can't control other people's actions, the outcome of every situation, or the way life unfolds. When we try to hold on tightly to control, we often create more stress and frustration. Letting go means accepting that some things are beyond our influence and that it's okay to release them. It's about focusing on what we can control, our attitudes, our choices, and our responses, and trusting that everything else will fall into place. Sometimes letting go means releasing the version of ourselves that we once were. We may have an image in our minds of who we're supposed to be or a narrative about our lives that we feel we must follow. But as we grow and change, those old versions of ourselves may no longer fit. Letting go means embracing who we are becoming, even if it looks different from what we expected. It means being willing to rewrite the story and to allow ourselves the freedom to evolve. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean we erase the memories, the lessons, or the impact of what we've experienced. Instead, it means we take those lessons with us, but we release the weight of carrying them as burdens. It's about holding on to the wisdom while letting go of the pain. It's about honoring the past without letting it define our future. Letting go is an act of self-love. It's a way of saying, I deserve peace. And I deserve the freedom to move forward. There is a deep sense of freedom that comes with letting go. It's like releasing a heavy load you didn't realize you were carrying. Suddenly you have room to breathe, to dream, and to explore what's next. Letting go opens the door to possibilities you couldn't see before. It allows you to move into a place of gratitude for what was and anticipation for what will be. It's not about rejecting the past, but about embracing the present and trusting the future. Letting go is a process. It doesn't happen all at once, and it often requires patience and self-compassion. There may be moments when you find yourself wanting to pick up what you've released to return to the familiar. That's okay. Letting go is not a straight path. It's a journey. Each step forward, no matter how small, is progress. The key is to keep moving, to keep trusting, and to keep making space for the new blessings that are waiting for you. Moving on is an act of courage and grace. It's the moment we decide to stop dwelling on what was and begin to embrace what is and what could be. Life is filled with moments of transition, some by choice, others forced upon us. And in those transitions, we often find ourselves caught between the comfort of the familiar and the uncertainty of the unknown. Moving on doesn't mean we ignore the past or pretend it didn't happen. It means we acknowledge it, learn from it, and make a conscious decision to step forward into a new chapter. It's not about erasing what has been, but about honoring it while choosing not to let it define the rest of our story. The journey of moving on begins with acceptance. We cannot move forward while we're stuck in denial or resistance. Sometimes we resist because we wish things had turned out differently. We hold on to what ifs and if onlys, replaying scenarios in our minds and hoping to rewrite the past. But the truth is, we can't change what has already happened. What we can change is how we respond to it. Acceptance doesn't mean we agree with or like what happened. It means we stop fighting against reality and start working with it. It's about saying, this is where I am and I choose to move forward from here. Letting go of the past is not an easy task. It requires strength to release the grip of old memories, habits, or even relationships that no longer serve us. The past can feel like a comfortable place to stay because it's familiar, but clinging to it keeps us from fully experiencing the present and stepping into the future. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to focus on what lies ahead instead of what's behind. It means giving ourselves permission to grow and evolve, even if that means leaving parts of the past behind. Moving also requires forgiveness, not just of others, but often of ourselves. We carry guilt, regret, and shame for the things we wish we had done differently, the opportunities we missed, or the mistakes we made. But holding on to those feelings only keeps us anchored to the past. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It's a way to release the weight of those burdens and to free ourselves to move forward unencumbered. It doesn't mean we excuse what happened. It means we refuse to let it have power over us any longer. One of the most important steps in moving on is shifting our focus. When we're stuck in the past, our thoughts often revolve around what we've lost or what went wrong. But moving on invites us to turn our attention to what is still possible. It's about finding hope in the future and recognizing that every ending brings with it the opportunity for a new beginning. It's about asking ourselves, what can I create from here? How can I use what I've been through to build something new? This shift in perspective allows us to see challenges as opportunities and setbacks as setups for comebacks. Moving on is not a solitary act. It often involves seeking support and connection. We don't have to navigate transitions alone. Sharing our feelings with trusted friends, family, or professionals can help us process what we're going through and provide encouragement as we take steps forward. Connection reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles and that others have walked similar paths and emerged stronger. Leaning on others doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. It's through connection that we find the strength to keep moving. The process of moving on is rarely linear. There will be days when we feel strong and hopeful, and others when the weight of the past feels heavy again. This is normal. Moving on is a journey, not a destination, and it requires patience of ourselves. It's okay to take small steps, to pause and rest when needed, and to allow ourselves the grace to feel whatever emotions arise. Progress is not measured by how quickly we move forward, but by our willingness to keep going, even when it's difficult. Moving on doesn't mean we have to have everything figured out. It doesn't require us to know exactly where we're headed or how things will turn out. It simply asks us to take one step at a time, trusting that with each step, the path will become clearer. It's about believing that the best is yet to come, even when we can't see it yet. It's about choosing to live in the present, to embrace the possibilities of the future, and to trust that we are capable of creating a life filled with meaning and joy. When we move on, we honor our strength and resilience. We acknowledge that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. We recognize that life is a series of seasons, and while some may be filled with pain or loss, others are filled with growth, love, and possibility. Moving on is not about forgetting the past, but about choosing to live fully in the present and to embrace the future with open arms. It's an act of courage, a declaration of hope, and a testament to the human spirit's incredible ability to rise again. Let these principles guide you through your seasons of endings and beginnings. Always remember, you are stronger than you think, and brighter days are ahead.